What would you do, Dianna, if you weren't doing this? Like, do you ever think about that?
Yeah. Fun.
What would you do?
Lawyer. I love to fight.
What kind of lawyer, though?
Me, probably a criminal defense attorney.
I was going to say.
No, which is like the bad guys, right?
Like case law or like
crime.
Criminal. Yeah.
Welcome into Scoop City. I'm the athletic senior NFL insider, Dianna Russini.
And I'm Chase Daniel, played 14 years in the NFL.
Thank you to you guys. You've been so great at helping us grow Scoop City. Be a friend, tell a friend, subscribe. Check us out over on Apple iTunes, Spotify, and of course on YouTube. You can watch this right there. We just did our first live show the other day for
a lot
free
of views
agency.
too. A lot of comments. That was awesome. We got to do more of those.
More participation. We appreciate it. We love your questions, and we'll continue to answer them. And we love anything you have to say about the show, because we will consider them. Trust me. That is the phase we are at this point. And the phase we are at this point on the NFL calendar, we're just now, pretty much the craziness of free agency has been wrapped up, yet the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New York Giants, and the Minnesota Vikings need to continue to figure out what they're going to do at the quarterback position while Aaron Rodgers waits. So we'll dive into that, Chase. We're starting to see a lot of the new players get introduced. They're signing with their new teams. Want to get your thoughts on the teams that really stood out to you, on who you really thought were the stars of this free agency.
Yeah.
But I said we just get right to this. There's so much going on around the league about what's happening at quarterback. Let's just get right to it. Here's what I'm hearing around the league. What is going on with Aaron Rodgers? Daily Mail caught a picture of him on the beach wearing his headphones, looking out at the ocean. I'm assuming that was the Pacific Ocean. I'm assuming he was in Maui there. As he's weighing his options and where he's going to land next.
So what? Yeah. So all right, that's because I got a lot of questions. My first one, because you're reporting, you crushed it. You said the Minnesota Vikings are still potentially. You were the one and the only one that had it. Potentially looking at a reunion, not a reunion, but a signing of Aaron Rodgers. Are the Giants still in it? Are the Steelers still in it? And what about the Vikings?
Yeah, let's unpack this. All right, so right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New York Giants have discussed a contract and what that would look like in terms of money, structure with Aaron Rodgers' camp. Okay, so they know what's on the table. They know which team is willing to do what and pay which number. And he has told them, at least his representation has shared with both teams, that he will be making decisions soon. There are some who even say that his camp has said it's going to be the Steelers. Nobody in Pittsburgh believes that, though. Nobody has said anything official has come through at this moment when we're recording the show on Thursday afternoon. So the Giants are waiting. The Pittsburgh Steelers are waiting. And then while all of this is happening, the Minnesota Vikings are having meetings and conversations about what this would look like, because they've got a lot of hurdles here. This is not an easy decision at all if you're the Minnesota Vikings, from ownership down. What do you do here? You just let Sam Darnold go, right? You made that decision as an organization that we are going to stick with J.J. McCarthy as our starter. They tried to retain Daniel Jones. They did not want to pay him the kind of money that we saw him get with the Colts. Thinking, okay, now we got to go get a veteran quarterback. Who's out there? Well, Aaron Rodgers is out there, but Aaron Rodgers is probably going to cost some. Aaron Rodgers is a future Hall of Fame quarterback. And there are many people with the Minnesota Vikings, as well as the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Giants, of course, who still think he can play at a really high level. So with that, what do you do? What do you think is holding them back right now?
Well, so, easily, without question, if Aaron Rodgers can go to the Minnesota Vikings, he should go to the Minnesota Vikings. Him paired up with Kevin O'Connell, obviously one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in football, and Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson. They just re-signed Aaron Jones. They have Jordan Addison. They have a very good defense. They are easily the best team out there for him. And I think that's probably because people are saying, hey, why is this taking so long with Aaron Rodgers? Why is he waiting? Because I don't think he wants to go to the Steelers. I don't think he wants to go to the Giants, even if they have offers out. He wants to win, and he wants to make good on what looked bad in New York. So if you're Aaron Rodgers, I would want to go there. Now, if you're the Minnesota Vikings, there is a difficult decision to be made because, like you said, the key factor in all this, I don't think they would be discussing this if they had gotten Daniel Jones back, because I do think Kevin O'Connell felt really good about how Daniel Jones possibly could be in a competition with J.J. McCarthy. Is J.J. McCarthy ready physically? Is he ready mentally? I don't know. And only the people in that building know. And another thing, if you bring a guy like Aaron Rodgers in, not only could it possibly hurt the growth of J.J. McCarthy and hurt his confidence, like, oh, this team didn't believe in me. That's just a real factor. And two, you have to think about the distractions, right, wrong, and different, that Aaron Rodgers will bring to the Minnesota Vikings. If Aaron Rodgers signs with the Minnesota Vikings, right then and there, they become one of the most popular teams to talk about every single day. You're going to see him on Pat McAfee still. You're going to see him on all this. Kevin O'Connell seems to have a really good pulse on his organization. He's done it with Kirk Cousins. He's done it with the Sam Darnold that nobody believed in. He could do it with J.J. McCarthy, but is J.J. McCarthy ready? That's what I'm taking from all this.
Yeah, and I think there's layers to this, and stuff we're talking about here is probably being discussed internally. Let's just start with probably the most important person in this conversation, which is actually J.J. McCarthy, because where they drafted him, what they did to get him, and the belief that he's the future, and the confidence that they had that he's the guy, right? He obviously, unfortunately, gets injured, and then Sam Darnold takes over and has tons of success. How did that affect JJ's growth? How did that affect his overall confidence? Granted, we know that Sam wound up, ending on a bad note, but there was a time there where there were some questions of, well, should the Vikings keep Sam Darnold now? He is the one that could probably take them to the Super Bowl at some point here at this level of play that he was showing, right? So you have that. Then you have the fact that he's coming off injury. Where is he in this rehab? Kevin O'Connell told me on the red carpet at the night of the honors at the Super Bowl that he was ahead of schedule and he's doing well. Then at the combine, I got the sense that maybe it wasn't that optimistic. So we just got to see where he lands. And like you said, they know where he's at medically. Mentally, where is he at now, knowing that they are out here trying to bring in some competition, right? Knowing
it's not just competition, it's a future Hall of Famer. Like that's another thing, I
didn't even get to Aaron's part about this, right? So that's JJ. This is like the JJ scenario situation. Let's move JJ to the side. Now we got Aaron Rodgers. You've got a soon-to-be 42-year-old coming off an Achilles injury. He had the season he did. They think he can still play. He comes with a lot. In the locker room, I feel like it's 50-50. You find some guys that love him. You find some guys that are just okay on him. They all respect who he is as a player. I think we all can agree he's one of the best quarterbacks that we've seen in our lifetime play the game. But he comes with a lot. He's going to talk outside the building. He's going to do media. He's going to do things that he wants to do. So how do you have success with Aaron Rodgers on your team? Well, and this is stuff that I think that the New York Jets learned over the seasons of, okay, there needs to be somebody that's the bad cop, so to speak. Somebody that is going to hold him accountable. Someone that's going to say, hey, Aaron, this is Kevin O'Connell's team. This is the Minnesota Vikings. You are just the quarterback here. We respect you. We think you're great. But we're a team. Because when you think about the Vikings, as good as JJ is, Justin Jefferson, I don't want to confuse the JJs, and JJ is good as well, but as good as Justin Jefferson is, you sometimes forget he's on that team. He's such a star, yet you think Vikings, don't you just think total, you just think of the, and that's, I think that's such a compliment to them because it is about team there. And then you look at what they did in free agency just now on their lines, offensively, defensively, right?
Yeah, they won free agency for me. Like they bolstered their trenches on both sides of the ball. They made amazing moves. They got secondary help. They re-signed Harrison Smith. I think it was awesome what they did.
And just more specifically, right? Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen from Washington joined them. Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, Isaiah Rodgers.
They spent a lot of money.
They spent a lot of money on top of the fact that they re-signed Harrison Smith, as you mentioned, Theo Jackson, Aaron Jones, Byron Murphy. These guys, you thought this defense was good with what Brian Flores was doing? he took a bunch of decent defenders here and essentially was pretty exotic with some of the stuff he would do to try to confuse quarterbacks. Now he actually has a pass rush. Now he actually has guys that can stop the run. On top of the fact that you have an offense with returning of Aaron Jones and the guys that are there. So they are built to win this. You need to now place the quarterback in this. And if JJ McCarthy isn't going to be physically ready by the time the season starts, if that's the case, why not use Aaron Rodgers to come in and perform with these type of players?
My thing is, Dianna, is we've never seen Aaron Rodgers do what you're saying that the Minnesota Vikings want him to do. Say that it's someone else's team and just be a plug-and-piece guy. Because in Green Bay, he wasn't like that. In New York, he wasn't like that. This is the first time he's ever been a free agent. He gets to choose where he goes. And this is my question, we don't know because we don't talk to Aaron, but is he okay with that for the last year of his career? Is he okay with it not being Aaron's team? Is it okay with him not being the face of the franchise and all this? Now, obviously, there's going to get some attention. I think that's one thing that we all need to keep in mind is he's never showed that. Like how good he's been, he's always wanted to be the face of that franchise, and rightfully so. He's a future Hall of Famer, and I think that's what we need to pay attention going forward. But secondly, you mentioned it about the Vikings not being able to go to that level or being okay to go to the level with Daniel Jones of what the Colts paid, which is $14 million. If Aaron Rodgers does go, are they capped at that number, or are they willing to go above that number because of the type of player Aaron Rodgers is? Because that's important.
And those have got to be part of the discussions with ownership of, we let Sam walk. We weren't going to pay him 30, 35 million. No way. Right? We weren't willing to pay Daniel Jones, 14?
Yeah.
Are they willing to do that? Is Aaron Rodgers willing to maybe take less to play under Kevin
less,
O'Connell?
though? Because if you're talking in the 20s with Aaron, that becomes a point where I know it's not about money, but it's a little bit about respect for him, right?
Oh, yeah. I've had people in the league say, you're nuts if you think he's going to take some big discount. There's no way.
I was going to say in the 30s would make sense. Like, that makes sense. Like, that's respectable enough. And the
but
Vikings
what does it look like years-wise?
Yeah, well, it's a
does
one,
it have
it's
to
a
be
1 year.
It's a 1 year?
Yeah, I just don't think there's any way.
Yeah. Well,
maybe it's an inflated 2 year that's really a 1 year. You know what I mean? Like,
I think bottom line, if you're going to bring Aaron Rodgers in there, he has to respect the head coach. And when you think Minnesota, when you think the Pittsburgh Steelers, there's not even like a pause, right? It's of course. It's Mike Tomlin.
O'Connell.
It's Kevin O'Connell. In regards to Minnesota, and I was just thinking about this, what about the fact that Kevin O'Connell played his position as a backup, though? Like, do you think that changes anything? Because it's like, hey, man, you did this, but I did this really
head
well.
Coach. Yeah, exactly.
You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
think that matters. I
Josh
think
McCown's in there. Like, hey, dude, you did this, but I did this at a high
level. You
level.
don't really coach Rodgers. You just say, here's the plays you run and go make them cool. That's sort of like Breeze at the end of his career. It's just like, just go out there and do some cool stuff.
What about guys around the league who constantly like to remind me that Aaron likes to just do what he wants at the line of scrimmage? Like, that's not Kevin O'Connell's not going to.
Yeah, and I do think that's the tricky situation. I think Pittsburgh will probably let him do that because they're just trying to hit on a quarterback. I do not think that's why this is such a crazy decision and interesting conversation, because I don't think that Kevin O'Connell will let him do that. But at the same token, that's all that Aaron Rodgers has ever done. I think there would have to be a little bit of give and take. And it's like, my thing is, once things go a little bit bad, how are they going to react? Are they going to stay cool, calm, and collected? Like, at one point, if Aaron Rodgers isn't playing well, is playing like he was in the first 5 or 6 games of the Jets, do they bench him if he goes? Like, there's a lot of scenarios that can play. And I do think that Kevin O'Connell has built up a lot of equity where he could afford a season of not being great with Aaron Rodgers for some reason. If they make this mistake, like, it's not like going to affect his job, obviously. But then it's like, man, now you wait another year for JJ McCarthy. It's such a fascinating piece of
and
the
look,
conversation.
we've seen situations like this before. In fact, it's so fitting that Brett Favre did this, right? He had success when he went to the Jets. Granted, he got hurt and it ended. But it made sense when Brett Favre went to New York in terms of that with that roster of just they had that thing built, plug and play and go. If he doesn't get hurt, who knows what would have happened?
Yep.
And then, of course, he finished his career with the Minnesota Vikings.
Which was arguably his best year of his career. We played against him, Diana, in the 2009 NFC Championship game. Like, he was a baller at that point. Like, he could follow the same footsteps as Favre, which is sort of crazy, I think.
So we spent a lot of time on the show criticizing Aaron Rodgers in New York. Yet I feel like the tone for both of us here, our takeaway is Minnesota needs to do this, because I think they need to do this. They need to sign Aaron Rodgers.
So I think we criticized Aaron Rodgers at times, or me, because he did go to the New York Jets. It didn't work out, but it was how it was laid out to him. Private jet, you can have whatever you want. You can be the GM. Look at the organization. It's dysfunctional. It's been dysfunctional for a long time. They've missed the playoffs, the Jets, 14 straight years. It's the longest drought in any major sports in America. Look at the Minnesota Vikings and look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, two of the more functional organizations. So this makes sense for me because of that.
Yeah. I feel like if I were to hand the Minnesota Vikings like a grocery list of things that they need to go get before Aaron gets there, it's the bad cop, boundaries, and good PR to deal with when he talks outside of the Minnesota Vikings space, right? Because Minnesota, they've got a fantastic communications group. They got great guys there, and they do a nice job of keeping everything right there in Minnesota. So they're gonna have fun with that if this does.
It's be wild.
Evolve. This continues, right? But imagine we spent a lot of time on Minnesota here just because this is the team that not a lot of people are talking about that we know about.
Yeah.
Because of course there's always more. But look at the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Okay, they are in a horrendous position. They just signed Mason Rudolph. Fine, cool, get it. Doesn't change anything. They still want Aaron Rodgers to come in there. They make these big moves in the offseason. They trade for DK Metcalf. They're paying him $1 gazillion to be there, which DK Metcalf going to Pittsburgh without even knowing who the quarterback is.
He's getting paid, man. $30 million a
right?
year.
What do, I had somebody in Pittsburgh say, I wish we would just put a deadline on this thing. And I'm like,
they're being held hostage. They can't.
You have no choices.
Yeah. The situation is crazy. No, go Mizzou. Let's go. M-I-Z-Z-O-U.
Joe Flacco?
Yeah, and that's what's a little bit concerning about this whole Pittsburgh Steelers conversation is because, one, since Ben Roethlisberger has been gone, Mike Tomlin has done nothing in terms of quarterbacks, true defensive head coach, right? And it's just a little bit concerning that they don't have a guy when they just gave $150 million to DK Metcalf. Another thing was, they've missed out on 3 quarterbacks that they offered. So technically, they're down to Russell Wilson if Aaron Rodgers goes to Minnesota. So they offered Justin Fields, they offered Sam Darnold, they offered Aaron Rodgers. None of those 3 have gotten anywhere. And then you go and Russell Wilson's still out there. If those 3 were to sign elsewhere, which they Fields and Darnold already have, and say Aaron Rodgers go to Minnesota, Russell Wilson's your best bet. But does Russell feel disrespected now that you're his 4th option? Does he want to come back there? Does he go to the Browns? Does he go to the Giants? And I think people aren't talking about it enough, but I think this visit that Russell Wilson went on to the Browns, I think this is a power move sort of from Russell's agent to sort of force Aaron Rodgers into a decision, because the Steelers are not wanting to lose out on both Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. And right now it's a real possibility. I think it speeds up the process. I think it's Russell saying, hey, Aaron Rodgers, you will not define my free agency market, because quite honestly, if I don't go to Pittsburgh, I don't know where the hell I'm going to end up. So I think that's a smart move by Russell.
Yeah, it's the deadline that Pittsburgh wants that they can't really put out, right?
Exactly.
Then, there's some chatter about what Atlanta will do with Kirk Cousins. They don't want to cut him, but they're going to take calls if a team is going to want to trade. If somebody's interested, they're going to get on the horn. And you got to figure at some point that has to be discussed in Pittsburgh if they can't get any of these quarterbacks, because they're going to have to go find.
What's Pittsburgh willing to go up to with Rodgers? Because they wouldn't go 2 for $40 for Fields. And who knows what they offered Sam. But, money's got to be an issue, right? For Rodgers, he still wants a lot.
Correct. From what I understand, the New York Giants are the team right now that offered the most. So,
but also has the least to offer.
but also has the least to offer. So now what's funny is just talking to people with the Giants, such a different tone. And maybe because they entered this race knowing that it was going to be a hard sell, perhaps. I don't feel them itching as much because they apparently have they've got some plan that I don't know about.
I told you that from the time they started tanking. You didn't believe me.
So you're saying their answer's in the draft, so they don't even care.
Draft Cam Ward at 1. That's your only chance. Move up.
If the Titans let that happen, right? Like you're rolling the die right now.
Oh,
you're rolling the dice.
Dianna?
I'm the die. Oh, that's the name of the podcast next time.
Rolling the die.
Rolling the die. Beats Scoop City. No, it doesn't. Scoop City's good. Scoop City's memorable.
Very memorable. When I heard it for the first time, I go, "Oh, that's memorable."
Yeah.
Because
we give you a little scoop. We've come through. So we'll see how this shakes out. This is literally by like the hour, and you know this because I've been in touch with you. So
yes,
hopefully, when you're listening to this and watching this, there's some resolution. But if not, we'll be talking about it next week. All right, Cooper Kupp. So we know the LA Rams cut him. And right now, I can tell you there's a market for him for sure. From what I was told, he would love to get paid between 14 and 15 million. I think the realistic number is more 11, 12. We'll see how that shakes out. But I can
feel
tell
like that's
you,
still a good deal for him.
It's a great deal.
Yeah,
because
he was set to make 20 in LA, right?
Yeah,
for where he's at in his career, injured, hadn't played a bunch.
Correct, older.
Yeah,
a little slower. Tad bit slower. Love Coop. We love you.
It's true though.
But with that being said, okay, so you have teams like, I can tell you the Seattle Seahawks are poking around on this thing. The Packers are looking at this. The Saints got their eye on it.
Mm-hmm. Don't go to the Saints.
Teams that I thought would be in that are not in on the Cooper Kupp market. The Denver Broncos.
I was going to say the Broncos.
Patriots.
Why not the
Houston
Broncos?
Texans.
Why?
I think they just are valuing different players at this moment. They
don't really have anyone outside Cortland Sutton. Like I feel like a 1-2 punch in Sean Payton's offense would make sense.
I don't know who they're waiting for, unless he thinks that he can draft somebody. I've never gotten the sense that wide receiver was on the top of the Denver Broncos wish list of players they were trying to bring in this offseason outside of the draft. So we'll see what moves they make there. But I was curious if San Francisco would maybe jump in. I don't get the sense there either. So the Minnesota Vikings poking around on it. So it makes sense with the teams that...
Oh, could you imagine him with the Vikings, Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson? Holy cow.
Yeah, and that obviously Kevin O'Connell's familiar with Cooper Kupp because they were together when he was with the LA Rams. So there's familiarity, which, we talked about this last time about the familiarity either working for you or working against you, right? Because the team that knows you, that you've been with, knows the good and the bad, right? And sometimes the bad is what probably doesn't get you signed if there's coaches from that organization on another team.
No doubt.
I've seen that happen. So we'll see how this shakes out. You still got receivers like Stephon Diggs. I'm really curious. Where's that going to go? I don't think he's in any rush from what I can sense. He's obviously still rehabbing coming off his injury. So we'll see who's going to jump in that market. But there are no big receiver names that we're going to be stalking over the next few days. So, but I feel like there's still a lot of questions. The Trey Hendrickson chatter, teams calling the Bengals, trying to see what's going on there. And the San Francisco 49ers, I still think this Brock Purdy situation is looming over the San Francisco 49ers team during a time that they're just not able to do that much. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll dive into both topics. All right, back here on Scoop City. What a time to be a pass rusher, right? We saw Max Crosby, Myles Garrett get paid buka bucks. The highest paid players in football, not quarterbacks. And now Trey Hendrickson is looking for a payday. So we know that he's requested a trade with the Cincinnati Bengals. And so his market Chase, I'd say it's hot because there's so many teams interested, but the Bengals are putting ice cold water on it all.
Why?
Because they are asking for a lot in return. And I think teams understand that he was going to cost, but I don't think they thought the Bengals would be a little bit unreasonable for some conversations. I'm getting the sense it's a first rounder.
Ooh, and you got to pay him like $30 million a year.
And you got to pay him.
Gosh,
correct. So that's a lot. It's a lot. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the DK Metcalf thing, where it started off as a first and a third, and then we saw where it wound up. So maybe the asking price is a lot right now. And Cincinnati's just trying to get as much as they possibly can in return, and perhaps they move off that to get a little bit more traction here as teams are hoping, and there's certainly a lot of interest. The Washington Commanders, one of those teams.
Dang, the Commanders have an unlimited amount of funds because I feel like they're signing everybody.
I love their free agency as well. I mean, starting from, when we saw them trade for Deebo Samuel to really start it all off. And what I like about what they're doing is they are re-signing a lot of the core of that team, the players that we always mock and say they're old, but they're important.
Yeah, especially to Dan Quinn. But Trey, do you think they actually go through with the trade, or do you think this is a situation like a Myles Garrett, like I want more money, sign me to that, or do you think they just can't afford T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Trey Hendrickson?
What's funny is when we talked about the Myles Garrett thing, and we kept saying, "Oh, it's not about the money," and you kept telling me it is about the money.
It's always about the money.
I never said to you, if you remember, I was never like, "Well, Cleveland can't do it." When I say with Cincinnati, I just instinctively am like, "They're not going to pay." Yeah. Like how? They're going to pay two wide receivers, what, $70 million? T's going to get 30. Jamar's going to get 40 plus. That's a lot.
Wait. Jamar's going to get how much?
They said they want to make Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback.
But that was before Myles Garrett signed the deal.
You said it.
They can't give him 40?
Yes, they can. That is the number Jamar Chase wants, and quite
Justin Jefferson
deserves.
On line one for a raise, please. My goodness, what?
40? They're like, please.
Sorry, my goodness, that was
right. So
shocking.
And it kind of adds actually to my intrigue to Cincinnati of like, what's the philosophy there? What are we doing?
Win games 45-40.
How do you build a team and spend that kind of money on your offense without building it on your defense? Like,
their defense was the issue last year.
Correct.
And Trey led the league in sacks, and now you're getting rid of your sack leader. I don't know. I mean, look, I think this is, and I thought that I saw something. I know I saw something. Mike Gesicki signed back for a 2-year, $23 million deal. But did you see his little press conference in quotes, what he said? He's like, look, we all knew this would happen. I was like, what would happen? He's like, I had to take a little less because of the Joe Burrow tax. And I was like, oh, because they're paying so much money for Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow's obviously a quarterback, so you're going to surround your guys because you don't want to make him unhappy and him ask for a trade. That would be crazy. So you're going to pay T. He's been openly campaigning for that. You're going to sign Jamar. But like my thing is, you've been in shootouts last year specifically. Your offense was great. Like Joe had one of his best seasons, if not the best season of his career. But your defense can't stop anyone. And now you're getting rid of your one guy that can actually force quarterbacks to get rid of the ball quick. Like, it just doesn't make sense. I think they're probably going to try to win games 45-40 and just outscore everyone. Because I don't see...
They tried doing that last year. It didn't work.
And that's why, like, I don't see a way forward. And this is why I think the Bengals, to me, had one of the worst free agencies. Like, they haven't paid Jamar Chase, and now you're telling me he could get 40. Okay, they haven't paid T. Higgins. They've double franchise tagged him in back-to-back years. You're trading your best pass rusher. What are you guys waiting on? Why aren't you paying the guys before they get so expensive? Because you could have paid Jamar Chase last year, and he would have been 34. Now you're going to spend $6 more million a year. Say it's a 4-year deal. You're spending $24 million more on a player because you wanted to wait 6 months. Make it make sense to me. It does not make sense. You're not paying these guys right away because that's really how you've never done it as an organization other than Joe Burrow. There's no plan right now.
And that's, they probably think they have a plan. And look, maybe we're unaware of what they're doing. But just, I don't think we're missing anything here. I think we're seeing what's the reality of this team right now, which is, I don't think this is going to be an easy year. This is a team that always starts slow too, right? Every season since Zach Taylor's been there, it's slow out of the gate. They can't afford to do that.
I saw Zach Taylor say something in the news like, we're going to change everything this offseason to try and like start faster. I'm like, well, you got to prove it because every year they haven't.
Yeah, I love you say the news. That's like my mom. She's like, I saw on the news, school buses are dangerous now. I'm like, what? Well, she's just like, she's that type that like sits home, watches the 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock news on Channel 7.
I watch the local news in San Diego.
You watch the local news?
Oh, yeah. My wife used to be a news anchor.
Oh, yeah. I always forget that.
The local news is pretty good. The weatherwoman is the easiest job in San Diego. 72 and sunny. Thank you very much.
That is true.
72 and sunny today. Oh, my gosh. We're going to get a little rain. Okay, 72 and sunny.
Not a lot of challenge there for those weather people. See, you asked me before the show started if I had to change careers. I should have been a weather woman in San Diego. I actually applied for a sports job there.
Oh, for real?
A fat no. Apparently, I don't fit I'm not very West Coast.
Imagine that.
Speaking of West Coast, San Francisco 49ers getting a lot of heat right now, just because of some of the moves, the cuts they're making. Deebo Samuel, Kyle Juszczyk, Leonard Floyd, Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins, Dre Greenlaw, now in Denver, Travarius Ward, he's gone. Aaron Banks, Jalen Moore is now in Kansas City Chiefs, Elijah Mitchell, Josh Dobbs, like a lot of goodbyes and not a lot of hellos there. And it just makes you wonder we're giving Cincinnati a lot of criticism here. What about the San Francisco 49ers? What do you think the philosophy here is for John Lynch and head coach Kyle Shanahan?
Yeah, like when I first heard and saw all the news being made, I was very surprised. And then I put on my little analyst cap, did a little research, did a little film study. All those guys are great. Like I personally, the two that you are going to miss, in my opinion, really one is a lock, Dre Greenlaw. I do think Dre Greenlaw, heartbeat of that defense. I think they will miss that. I just don't think they were comfortable with him coming off of injury and paying him $36 million like the Denver Broncos. All the other guys, I'm good. Like eventually, like Hufanga, for instance, I think he's a great safety coming off injury. Dre Greenlaw coming off injury. Elijah Mitchell, great, coming off injury. Okay, Josh Dobbs doesn't move the needle for me. Aaron Banks, good player. $77 million good? Nope. Move on. You can't afford it, okay? Jalen Moore never really developed like he should. I think it's a little bit of an overpay for the Kansas City Chiefs. So when I look at this, and Charvarius Ward, good player. We all know he needed a fresh start. We all knew that wasn't going to work out in San Fran. So I get that. Eventually, there has to be a way to try and extend the Super Bowl window. And people are going to look at these names and say, oh, what's happening? They can't pay everyone. And eventually you have to trust some of your draft picks and trust some of your younger players to step up. Look at the Rams. Look what the Rams did the year after they lost Super Bowl. It was F them picks, right? Or the year after they won the Super Bowl, right?
I was going to say they won that one.
Yeah, they won it. But then, didn't make the playoffs. And then the next 2 years with a very young defensive core, no one knew what was going to happen, right?
They weren't supposed to be that good.
They weren't supposed to be there. And now it's all of a sudden Rams have the best young roster, and it's 2 years. I just think you sort of have to trust the process with Kyle Shanahan, with John Lynch. And, the big X factor for all these moves is, how will Brock Purdy play with the lesser talented offense? That's what I want to see.
Yeah, and this is going to be a quarterback that's looking for a new contract, as we know. The negotiations have started. They've discussed numbers. And, the sense I'm getting from the entire situation, I feel like at one point when we talked about this, I thought it would be smoother. I thought we would have an answer pretty quickly, which, again, silly me. I always just think that because I think sometimes I look like the personality of the player. I'm like, oh, Brock looks so nice. He's not going to be a hard negotiator. He's just going to be like, I want to play football. But we both know that that's not how it works. This is business.
What's making the situation so much different than maybe they thought?
Well, because it's the saying that we always talk about on the show, which is the market is what the market is. And so, we've had conversations before, especially when Brock was playing well, is he going to top Dak Prescott, right? Is he going to ask for $60 million? He's going to ask for more than $60 million. You have to wonder.
Josh Allen just took 55. Brock Purdy should not like that probably hurt Purdy, correct?
Yeah, I think John Lynch sent a check over to Josh, was like, thank you. I will pay for your wedding.
I'll give you that extra $5 million you were saying you didn't take.
Yeah, exactly. Here. I just think that there has to be a moment that both sides go, okay, yes, the market is what the market is, but this is still the last pick in the draft. This isn't Trevor Lawrence. This isn't, top of the draft type player. We need to kind of all come back down to earth and have a discussion and a little bit of give and just get to a fair number that makes sense. Not just from a standpoint of a salary for Brock, but a salary that isn't going to upcharge the San Francisco 49ers so then they can't get the pieces around him, right? Because then you don't want to be the Bengals and you're spending all this money and then you can't build on the defense. Josh Allen took 55 because he wants the rest of the roster to be good, right? He wants to just give a little bit. And geez, you can speak on this better than I can. I understand getting as much money as you possibly can. Peyton Manning was the king of it, right? He never took a discount. But there are ways you can make money as a quarterback. You don't need to make top of the market money in order for you to live a good life. You can
look,
especially look where San Francisco's located, right? There's like top investors, Silicon Valley. There's so much out there.
He's got a lot of marketing stuff. Look, I think that look, Brock has some leverage. Don't know if he has all the leverage. I think the 49ers have a lot of the leverage. And look, he's under contract next year, $5 million. The following year, they could franchise tag him for $41 million. The following year after that, they could double franchise tag him at $51 million. So a 3-year compensation of $97 million. So they technically, Dianna, they have his rights for the next 3 years. And at $97 million, that's a bargain. You could also say, hey, San Fran, are we sure if Brock's going to ask for top of the money, we don't want to pay it? Let's just have his rights for 3 years and spend 3 years trying to find the franchise quarterback again, right? Ultimately, I think they do want to get it done because I think the play on the field, top 12, top 10 type guy, right? But I don't know if he had as much leverage as he once would after the season he had last year.
I think that the San Francisco 49ers are in a position where they can be patient. They just probably don't want to be, right? They want to get this going and get this done with so they can continue to build and avoid what we saw last year, which was distractions and conversations. All we talked about all year long were the contracts of Brandon Ayuk, contract of Trent Williams. So I think for this chapter for the 49ers, they want to turn the page here and get back to being the team that we've been talking about for years before this past season, which was contenders that have an opportunity to win when they were once on a young, cheap rookie contract that now is going to obviously change the way they do business. So I know that you are sick of X and you're sick of all the news flying around just because we're all so addicted. But I would suggest staying off the internet. And the reason why I'm suggesting that is lately I think we've been doing a little too much internet. So when we come back, I want to share with you our new segment called, Way Too Much Internet. We'll be right back. All right, back here in Scoop City, Chase. No surprise, we've all been on our phones this past week because that's just how it goes when we're trying to follow all the big NFL stories. But there are some downtimes in between breaking news and doing shows and TV and everything else that we do. And I keep finding myself going down these wormholes of just weird. Don't look at my search history either because you'll be freaked out. But I did come across this video that I've been obsessed with. It's a gas tank pump at the Sacramento Kings game. And essentially, they challenged this guy to see if he could pump his tank and hit the exact dollar amount of gas he put in, right? So have you ever done that before?
Yeah, of course.
All right, let me show you.
We're going to go with Tom. Tom, good luck, dude. Attempt the perfect pump.
Attempt the perfect pump.
So close. He just got a perfect pump, baby.
Tom.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Tommy with the perfect pump. All right.
Unbelievable. Did he win gas for life? Tom knows how to pump his gas.
First of all, his vibe was so chill. He reminded me of my dad, just with all the ease in the world. He knew to stay calm and focus. And do you feel like can you when you put $10 in or $20, whatever, what do you drive?
First of all, I drive like SUV. So
an SUV, right? So how much is it to fill usually?
A lot of money, like $120 out here. It's like $5 a gallon is cheap out here for gas. You know what Tom though did? First of all, I don't ever put money on a tank. I use my credit card like a normal human being, and I can pump to whatever number I want to. Like very rarely, if ever, have I ever gone into a gas station. Here's $100 cash, 100 on 4, please. Tom though, he's an OG. He's got the gray hair. He's an older cat. He probably likes that. So he goes in there. He does that. And he's done this before. First of all, you can tell he's not from New Jersey because he pumps his gas all the time. There's no way you could get closer than me. Let's just be honest about that.
I can't believe you even know that. So
yeah, because I lived in Jersey. I lived in Haddonfield, New Jersey when I played for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I don't know how to pump gas.
That's weird to me, by the way. What is there to know about gas pumping? Like you literally swipe your credit card, you push premium, unleaded, or diesel if you have it. You take the gas pump out and you put it in your car.
I don't know what it is. It's probably because I usually have a phone in my hand at the same time. But I'm always fumbling it. I'm always getting gas on my hand, gas on the side of the car.
Wait,
the truth is,
why?
I get nervous because
Why?
I don't do it. Because we don't do it in New Jersey. It's illegal. I always just sit in my car.
It's not going to kill you or bite you or come at you. It's
I know,
gas
but
in a
it's
car.
not part of my everyday routine. So when I go to Philadelphia to see my in-laws, or if I'm in Connecticut or somewhere outside of New Jersey, I hate getting gas because I immediately start panicking. Like I gotta get out. I don't, Do you swipe the card first? Do you pull it out of the socket first?
Hold on. Tell me, because I've lived in Jersey and I've experienced this, and the guy tried to pump my gas and I was like, absolutely not. I will do it because I'm a man. However, take me through when you drive your car, SUV or whatever you're driving. Diana's driving down the road, texting, calling people, and you pull up to a gas station. What the heck happens? Take me through it for everyone to know. When you pull into a gas station, what happens?
I feel like this is a test, but I pull in, I lower my window, and I say, hello, can you please fill up my tank?
You say that to who? There's just people standing around?
There's a man. There's a gas attendant, and he's standing there, and he comes over, and I lower my window. I give him my credit card. He goes over to the tank. He says, fill it up. I go, fill it up, please. Swipes it, gives me my card back, or sometimes they leave it in depending on what gas station. I roll my window back up. I take out $3 or $4, sometimes $5 if I have it on me. I wait for him to finish pumping my gas, and then I tip.
You have to tip a gas attendant?
I do. You don't tip?
I've never had that, Diana.
Wait, you never? But when you lived in New Jersey, it's illegal. They don't yell at you when you got out of, when you would get out? Oh my gosh, they go nuts in my neighborhood. They're like, get in the car!
Okay, first of all, why is that a law rule in Jersey? That's weird to me.
But in Oregon, I think Oregon just made it legal to pump your own gas. I think New Jersey's the only one now. I'm almost certain of that. Which I lived in Oregon too. How funny. I've lived in both states where you can't pump gas.
Wait, there's two states?
I think there's 2 states. I had to look it up, but I'm almost certain because I didn't pump gas there either. Which was great because it was kind of rainy. But yeah, I don't know why we don't do it, but I like it because I look at it as a job opportunity. That gas attendant's getting probably paid. That he's making some tips, or her. I've had some female gas attendants. But the process to me just it's almost like do you ever go up and order something at Starbucks or the drive-through or McDonald's, and don't you get nervous before you put your order in?
Nope.
What's wrong with me? I panic. I'm like, I'll get a number 2, cookies for the kids. Like, I just start talking like crazy.
The ban was lifted in Oregon in 2023, so New Jersey is the only state.
New Jersey's
that currently...
the only state.
So did you grow up, like when you started driving, were you growing up in Jersey?
Yeah, so my family's from New York.
Okay, so your dad never had to teach you how to pump gas.
He never had to teach me. So when I got my permit, my driver's permit, we lived in New Jersey. And the first thing my dad taught me before I even did anything was stick. He taught me how to drive stick. That was the first thing, which was so smart.
Yeah.
Because I've been in two situations now in my life, when I was in college actually, where somebody had to get their car moved or drive home, and it was stick, and they were drunk. And I drove.
I was going to say that this story has to say someone's drunk. I was just college,
but it's the truth.
Stick.
It's the truth.
Well, good for
my
you.
former teammates listen to the show. They'll comment in the section that it's true that I did it.
Please comment. All right.
Because it's like riding a bike. Once you learn how to drive stick, you just never forget it. You just know how to do it.
Did the gas pumper Tom? Did he win like free gas for life or something? Do we know?
I don't think so, but
that's pretty impressive.
I would hit the arena host, which I had that job once for the Washington Wizards. That was my job. I would be like, hey, everybody, I'm here with Chase. Chase is going to try to score a basket from the half-court shot.
A basket from the half-court shot.
Terrible at it. Terrible. I had two jobs outside of being a broadcaster. A Wizards arena in-house host and a waitress. Both jobs in Washington, D.C., both awful.
Oh, I bet you were an awful waitress, with all due respect.
I
cannot imagine you waiting
How
on
do you know?
anybody.
What makes you think I don't have the skills to be a server?
Your personality.
I don't have the personality for it?
No.
What are you talking about?
You do not. I can not imagine you serving other people. If I'm being honest.
You can argue information is serving people.
Yeah. But
you know what I used to do? So
what?
My recall is not great. So I would go to the tables and be like, okay, what would you like to drink? And then after a while, I'd be like, you know what? Just raise your hand. Who wants a Coke? Raise your hand.
No, you wouldn't.
I swear. My sister used to be mortified because she'd
biggest
come in the
mistake as a waitress.
I have the opposite. I want to answer the opposite. What's the best thing I did as a waitress?
Okay.
I was awesome at pushing alcohol. Meaning, my bar bill. So I worked at Longhorn Steakhouse. That was my college job.
Oh, yeah. You worked at Longhorn?
Yeah. I was the only brunette in the whole place. It was like all these hot blonde girls and just me.
That's so funny.
I had to get a job to whatever, I guess, for college to spend money. And I loved it. I was terrible at it. But they had this program where if you sell a lot of alcohol, you got a bonus or you got free something. So as soon as I'd walk up to the table, I'd be like, would you like to try a margarita? Would you like a beer? And they would always say you're a terrible server, but you're great with selling alcohol. So they never fired me.
You're a pusher, huh?
I was a pusher. I was motivated. That's what it was. If you just tell me I have to I have a goal, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, you will meet a goal for sure.
Yes.
You're surpassing.
Wait, have you ever had a job outside football?
That's a great question. The answer is no. My job was football. First of all, you couldn't work in college. There's just no way. My dad made me mow lawns growing up for extra money.
I remember you telling me that.
And I had the worst. It was honestly punishment. Not because I could care less about mowing lawns. I'm fast, good, edging, everything like that. But I had the worst allergies growing up in Texas. And so all the grass, it was every time my dad was like, go back, do it again. Go back, do it again. Did not care, eyes swollen shut. He was like, this is you needing to work. I was like, all right.
Yeah. By the way, you say allergies then as if you don't have them anymore. We hear you on the show.
It's been better.
You have allergies, my friend. You live in the most beautiful place in the world and you still have allergies.
It's been rainy out here, okay?
Oh, yes. All right, that'll do it for us. We dove down a whole avenue that I was not expecting, but it's good to see and hear that we learned a lot on our way up to get to where we're at. I'm going to make my kids be servers, by the way, no matter what. I think it's a good thing to experience, and then you really value them when you're out and you're having dinner with your family. You're like, I've been there before. It's the worst. Or, be patient. It's not their fault. It's the cook's fault. But that'll do it for us here on Scoop City. We're going to stay on the Aaron Rodgers watch. Hopefully by next show, this has been resolved. But there's people that say Rodgers is going to take his time, and I believe them. He doesn't seem like someone who's in any rush.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guess he likes the attention, right? A little
He
bit.
definitely does.
Just a little bit. All right, guys, that'll do it for us this week. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for watching us here on YouTube, if you're listening to us. And we will see you guys next time. Have a good night.
Bye, guys. Tag you next time.
Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.